This lesson, guys, I'm going to show you how to make an adjustment layer and then couple that adjustment layer with a clipping mask, and that clipping mask is going to attach it to a single layer. So let's get started. First thing that we need to do is we need to bring our images together. So in this case, I'm going to use this rock and roll guy and these laser light shows. Okay, so with these two layers put together now, you can see I have a normal blending mode. I have not changed the blending mode, so I'm on normal here and I'm on normal here. So okay, so layer blending modes are turned to normal. Okay, I have to first create the adjustment layer. All right, so to do that, I'm going to go up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and now I've got a big list of things that I can do. Now I'm not going to go through all of these right now, but the common ones that are used quite a bit are brightness contrast, exposure, vibrance, hue and saturation, photo filter, posterize. Okay, those are really good ones to really kind of change the way that a layer is going to look. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use exposure. Okay, so I'm going to choose exposure, and you're going to see it's going to add a new layer in my layer palette. So you can see here the thumbnail says EXP for exposure, and then it has the adjustment layer called exposure 1. It does also bring up the properties panel, and in the properties panel I can move this around now and I can adjust the way this is going to look, and you can see what it's going to do here to the laser light show. So I'm going to kind of adjust it like this. I don't know, maybe something like this. And I don't know, maybe something like this. Okay, so you can see what I've done here to the laser lights. I've really increased the kind of the width and the intensity of the lasers. I've also made the background or the sky or the ceiling in this arena or wherever it was taken very, very black. So I've kind of removed all the detail out of there and made it solid black, really emphasizing these lasers. So I'm going to make the properties hide for a little bit, and now you can see what I've done here. By using this exposure adjustment layer, you can really see how I've made those much more dramatic. So if you look now, by having the exposure adjustment layer on, I'm adjusting anything that's below this exposure layer. So if I turn the laser background layer off, you can see what it's doing to my rock and roll guy. And again, you can see here by taking the exposing layer on and off, that's off and on, you can see that it is adjusting the rock and roll guy as well. Well, I don't want it to affect or have any kind of control on the rock and roll guy. I only want it to control and affect this laser layer here. Okay, so the next step to this is applying a clipping mask. Okay, the clipping mask is essentially taking like a paper clip, if you will, and you can take the paper clip and you can put it on a piece of paper, and that, you know, those two pieces of paper, or you know, the paper clip and that piece of paper are physically attached now. It's not really affecting anything else. It's just that's what's you're attaching it to. So it's essentially that same thing. So how do I get the exposure adjustment layer only attached to this laser background? To do that, we're going to right click on the exposure adjustment layer here, or whatever adjustment layer you've created. When you right click, you're going to go to where it says clipping mask. All right, so when you check or click this, you're going to see it has this little arrow that points down, and it's pointing directly to the layer that's right below it. So right now it's only affecting this background layer. Okay, it's not affecting this rock and roll guy anymore. If you look, even though I turn this background layer off, the exposure adjustment layer is still on. It's not affecting this rock and roll guy anymore. okay? So that's the key to making this work. And that is using that clipping mask, because if you don't clip it, it's going to affect everything that's below it, okay? And that's going to be a big deal when you take these and you start adding it into your poster, where you're going to have lots of different layers, and anything that's below that adjustment layer is going to be affected if you don't adjust it. If you don't clip it together with a clipping mask to a layer. Okay, so here's what I've done here with the adjustment layer, and I'm going to show you a before and an after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this background layer. I'm now going to use a blending mode. So I've done an adjustment layer. I've clipped it with a mask to the background layer. I'm now going to go to, I don't know, let's try screen here. And now you can see how I'm blending the background layer with the background laser layer with the background rock and roll guy. Okay, so you can see how pronounced and very vibrant those lasers are. If I switch over to this document, you can see here I do not have an adjustment layer. All I've done is set a layer blending mode, and look at the difference. See how more muted those lasers are compared to this one? See how much brighter those lasers are here because of that exposure adjustment layer. So that's the power of using an adjustment layer. Okay, you can really make something stand out, or change the color of something, or make a big drastic change by using an adjustment layer and clipping it to some sort of and using a clipping layer and clipping it to another layer, and then maybe applying a blending mode. You can really get some really cool effects. So give it a try.